Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, this time to carry out the iconic flights challenge that came with the latest UK update for the sim. For those of you who aren't aware, the iconic flight that came with the UK update emulates the shortest commercial flight route in the world. This flight takes place in the Orkney Islands, which are located off the northeastern coast of the United Kingdom, and is basically a short hop over the water from the island of Westray to Papa Westray. I have to say I'm a little bit perplexed as to why Asobo chose this routing to showcase the new UK update for the sim. Obviously they've taken the time to overhaul the entirety of the UK and Ireland, and this route does really very little to showcase any of that. So again, a strange choice in my opinion, and fair warning now, this route is really only a couple of minutes long. So if you would like to watch the video, for the most part we'll be going through the startup process of the Beechcraft Bonanza. That being said, of course I do hope that you enjoy the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. As I say, we'll now head for the cockpit of the Bonanza and get the aircraft started up. So welcome to a very wet and dreary morning here on the island of Westray. We've just got ourselves sat down in the Beechcraft Bonanza and we'll run the before start checklist. So passenger safety briefing not required, ASUS is not available, charts and flight plan not required, seats have been adjusted and secured, rudder pedals have been adjusted, seatbelts and harnesses are adjusted and secure, landing gear handle is down, cowl flaps are open, avionics circuit breakers are checked in, alternate static source is in the normal position, left side circuit breakers are checked in, fuel selector valve can go to the left tank, the tank should be balanced, batteries and alternators on, so battery 1 and 2 on, and alternator 1 and 2 on. Just waiting for the screen to load. Annunciators, we have low volts and pitot heat off, which we'd expect, and no alerts. Avionics master is off, rotating beacon can go on, as can the nav lights. Landing gear is down 3 greens, bus voltage is checked. Fuel quantity, we have 20 US gallons in each tank and the tanks are balanced. For the start then, it will be a cold start, so the prop is in the high RPM position. Mixture can go to full rich. Throttle, full open. Auxiliary fuel pump will turn that to the low position initially and then to the high position. So there's low and high. We have a peak in fuel flow, so the auxiliary fuel pump can come off again. Throttle is closed and we'll correct that ½ inch, and we are ready for the start. Prop area is clear. Clear prop! And start. So we have a good start, we'll idle around 1000 RPM. Bus faults are checked, alternator load is checked, oil pressure is in the green, RPM is checked, mixture we'll leave in the rich position, annunciators we just have the pitot heat, avionics can come on now, and again we'll just wait for the Garmin to load up. As you can see, the flight plan's already been loaded in for us. For taxi checklist, ASUS is not available. Garmin displays have been set. Clearance not required. Autopilot not required. Transponder is set. Lights, so we have the nav light on and the beacon is on. We'll take the taxi light as well now for the taxi. Cabin heat not required. Circuit breakers are checked in. Oil temperature is checked. For the taxi, park brake can come off. We'll tune up traffic now, which is 1229. And we're planning to depart off runway 13. You'll notice there is actually a slight wind out from the west, however runway 13 will take for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the weather out to the west is looking pretty miserable, whereas out to the east it's looking slightly nicer. Also runway 13 is downward sloping, so that's preferable. If we did have to take off to the west, we'd be taking off on an upsloping runway. And finally, as you can see, we are departing out to the east, so it just minimises our route distance. So we'll take off, as I say, runway 13. We'll announce our taxi.
Echo Golf, Echo Whiskey Traffic Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf is taxiing to runway 13.
Part brake off. We won't taxi all the way down to the holding point, it's a pretty tight turning area down there. So we'll actually carry out the run up on the apron. If we point in a westerly direction, our prop wash isn't going to be damaging anything behind us anyway. So just swinging the aircraft around towards the west. Looks good. Part brake on. Back up to 1000 RPM. For the run up, we want to come up to 1700 RPM. We're checking for a maximum drop of 150 RPM on each magneto, and no more than 50 RPM difference between the two. We'll then cycle the propeller and finally come back to idle. So up to 1700. Showing 1800 there, but that's close enough. So we'll switch to the left magneto. Showing about a 60 RPM drop on the left, back to both. And we'll check the right. Showing about the same on the right, so the magnetos are good. Back to both, we'll cycle the propeller, looking for no more than 200 RPM drop. So propeller's good, back to idle. Just getting the low voltage warning as the alternator drops out there. Idling around 500 RPM. And we'll come back up to 1000. So that's the run up complete. Flight instruments. Heading looks good. Altimeter is set. Fuel. We'll switch tanks now. Onto the right tank. Pitot heat can go on. Prop de-ice, temperature outside is 14 degrees, so prop de-ice is not required. Flight controls. Are full free and in the correct sense. Pitch trim is set for takeoff. Flaps, we'll take approach flap for the takeoff, it's quite a short runway. So there's approach. And the flaps are checked. Seatbelts and harnesses are secure. Doors and windows are closed. Lights, we'll take the strobe and the landing light on now. Transponder is set, air conditioning is off, and the mixture is rich. Annunciator panel is clear, and we'll call the tower now, and we'll tell them we're departing out to the east.
Echo Golf, Echo Whiskey Traffic Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf taking off runway 13 departure to the east.
Obviously can't see very much on final there, but from what we can see it's clear. Upwind looks good, so we'll enter runway 13. And we'll backtrack the runway, maximise the takeoff run. Again, it's quite a short runway. Take the turn nice and slow in these wet conditions. As I said, we'll backtrack all the way down to the other end. There's a turning circle down at the threshold. We use that to get the aircraft turned around, and then we'll be departing. So again, we'll make the turn nice and slow. Using some brakes to tighten up our turn radius. And nicely lined up. One last quick check, everything looks good, let's go. So coming up to full power, RPM looks good, T's and P's are in the green, Holding the aircraft straight on the runway centreline. There's 60 knots, back on the yoke. And we're up. We won't bother retracting the gear, as we'll literally only be in the air for a minute or two. We'll be extending the gear again very shortly otherwise. Climb away at 80 knots. And again, we'll only be climbing up to around 500 feet. It's a really, really short sector. Come back on the power now. Get the aircraft trimmed. You can already see the runway. We'll call up Papa Westray traffic. Be landing on runway 3. Full stop landing, and we'll just announce final now.
Echo Golf, Echo Papa traffic, Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf is on final runway 3 to land.
So taking full flap. Brakes are off, undercarriage is down, mixture is rich, fuel pump is not required, landing light is on, harness is secure, and pitch is full fine, undercarriage is down, landing clearance is not required, and the runway is clear. And holding the aircraft off. We won't try and vacate at the exit, we'll just use the full runway length to get the aircraft slowed down. The landing challenge stops on the runway anyway. So applying the brakes and bring the aircraft to a stop. So there you go guys, I do hope you enjoyed our very quick hop from Westray over to Papa Westray. Once again, I'm a little bit perplexed as to why Asobo chose this particular route. I do realise that it is quite an iconic flight routing, but again, it doesn't really do an awful lot to show off the new scenery that we have within the sim. Anyway, I guess that means we'll just have to explore a little bit more for ourselves and do some more trips around the UK in the future. Once again, despite this flight being a little bit unusual, I do hope that you enjoyed the trip. If you did, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, please leave them down in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. But for now, thanks very much and I'll see you all again soon.